People, Deluded, I'm back again. Now, like me, if you're an Arsenal fan, you're keen to see what we do in the market. Because on one hand, we hear we got no money. We've heard that for years. Last summer, I know it weren't exactly a case of upfront fees, but I'm pretty sure the outlay was around 135 or so million, 70 million outlay on Pepe if he hits all variables, and a couple other bits of business. So the finances are there, but at the same time, clearly the health of the club isn't there. We're feeling the pinch with our wage budget, and obviously not being in the champs. Like Kroenke once said, Champions League budget with a Europa League squad, we have the prospect of not being in the Europa. Now, when you consider the gulf in money earnings between champs and Europa, for getting to the final, we got the same amount of Inter going out of the groups, but we stand to lose 30 million if we don't play any European football at all. Now, from a selfish point of view, as a fan, I don't want to be in Europa League. At the end of the day, when it was UEFA Cup, it was held in higher regards. Nobody can tell me nothing. It's a trophy. It's a European trophy. Arsenal have a lack of those, so I'd be more than happy to win it. I want the main reason I do want it to be in it is for the young players. Before Saka was doing his thing, now he was getting his chances there. Martinelli the same, and it gives an opportunity for young players, because reality is you should be able to play your poorest team in the group stages and take it for a bit of a joke sort of thing, and it gets a bit serious. You have to take it serious, but you get what I mean, people. I don't want to be in it because I'm tired of the 6 o'clock kickoffs and having to run home and review it and stuff. But beyond that nonsense, any Arsenal fan, I don't want to say true Arsenal fan, but any fan that's using their logic, it makes sense. It's more beneficial for Arsenal to be in it, because we will miss 30 million, especially when you hear our issues. And you know what? I'll accept it. It all depends what we can do, The club said we're planning for 3 or 4 scenarios, Arteta specifically, so they should have planned for this possibility that before it gets better, it gets worse. We was Europa League, and now we've the prospect of not being in any European football. So, they should have flirted with the possibility of how we're going to react in the market if we're not in Europe. How are we going to react if we get Europa League again? How are we going to react if what we wanted was Champions League? So 3 or 4 different scenarios. Obviously, there's COVID, and that's another scenario that's flipped everything on its head. Clearly, Arteta's been very vocal on the need for money, not necessarily checkbook management, but we need reinforcements. You look at the squad, even the most ironic, but even the most deluded of Arsenal fans and positives cannot look at this collective 11, starting 11, and say it's of a standard to do anything serious. There's a couple of individuals, but at worst, it's the best of a bad bunch. There's a handful of individuals that could go on and play for top clubs or go on and play for serious clubs. Like, I think, I think Guendouzi's going to be a baller in the future, and I think there's a couple people like that I could say, but it's not glaringly obvious. I feel Torreira can play for another team. I feel Aubameyang can play for another team. I feel Saka, Martinelli, Kieran Tierney, Martinez, Leno before the injury. Do you get it? Couple man can play at other teams or play for other top teams. There's not too many that I believe. If it's at Arsenal, you're not going to be doing this thing elsewhere. And for me, you're hearing Aubameyang, he might be on signing a new deal. How much can we do without outgoings? How much can we do with these financial problems? I think it's unrealistic to think Ozil stays here, Aubameyang signs a new deal, Laka's future, who Arteta's talked up, gets sorted, and we bring in a couple of these names we've been linked with. I think it's too much peas without people going. Yes, Mkhitaryan's gone, and for me, the club has to make tough decisions. We might have to, I don't want Maitland-Niles to leave, but he's linked with a move away. Can you go and get 20 million from him? I want Martinez to stay, but if Martinez sees that Leno comes back and, he goes back to being number 2 or something, and considering what Pickford cost 30 million, is he worse right now? Does he look better or worse than Martinez, who nobody knew? It's almost like people forgot he was a footballer. People would walk past him in the street, no disrespect. Now they know he's a baller. Can you get a 30 at any? Well, maybe with COVID you're looking at 15, 20, but can you get 15 to 30 for him? Because apparently we was looking for a backup goalie anyways. But Martinez playing well has flipped things. I'm not saying I want to sell him. I think for me, I want to keep him. Him and Leno fight it out. Obviously, I don't want to delve off too much, but we all know keepers. You can't have 2 similar level keepers fighting for one spot. Well, eventually, someone's got to be the number 2 thing. But you sign Guendouzi for 8 million. You could sell him for up to 40. calm profit. Rob Holding, who I want to stay, but's also been linked with a move. Signed him for 2 million. Can you go and get a 15-20? Can you get a 15 to 30 for Martinez? Balogun, I want him to stay. Young G. But if the club were looking at it in the sense of he hasn't played first team football, he's nowhere near it, and we can get 5 to 10 million and a sell-on clause for my man, they'll do it. We need to generate funds. So if we could do that and get the 30 million guaranteed over time with Europa, it gives us more flexibility, people. And, you know, Kroenke is struggling to really inject his own money beyond these sophisticated loans and things. And it, from a business proposition, what he's done since he's been at Arsenal in terms of his own personal pocket has been amazing, but it's harming our club. And to be fair, I know FFP is being relaxed. You're looking at Kroenke and now you're wishing on a star. You know, I want to be wrong, and it's not all him, because, you know, regardless of him putting in money or not, we haven't necessarily done the best with money. Like, I'm a fan of Pepe. I think Pepe is going to be good, but could we have spent that more wisely elsewhere? I like Xhaka. I think Xhaka is misunderstood, and he's, you know, there is criticisms of him, but I think people get at him. 40 million. Could we have spent that better? Mustafi's turned a new leaf. Could we have spent that better? You know, we could have done several things. With regardless of if we're penny pinching or not, the scouting hasn't been elite. That's not necessarily finding elite players. That's a streamlined operation, working within the dynamics. We ain't done a thing like that. Do you get it, people? So we're in serious issues, and it does concern me because I can't see the direction. I'm looking at Kroenke, and, you know, with FFP, with Arsenal, you know, this is the time to dip into your personal pocket. Is he going to do that? No, because his love child is in the NFL. Like, you know me, I really want to work for Arsenal and things, and maybe my opinions on Kroenke and the team will cost me these opportunities, but I can't sit here and lie to you lot and say things I don't believe. Unless he puts his hand in his pocket, it's going to get worse, you know. We're going to see this, and you're just hoping that he sells the club, really and truly. Arteta's had some things to say, really. Like I said, people, for the first time since 95, 96, when we weren't in Europe, we're flirting with that possibility. And I don't see our season's riding on City's, but our season for next season is riding on if we beat City or not. These actually weren't meant to be a part of today's video, but through doing a little research and stuff, I came across these quotes. And on the Kroenkes, Arteta said he's always going to be diplomatic. I speak with them and I have a really, really good and open relationship. That's why when you mention that when you mention that I am surprised, in brackets, sending a message to the Kroenkes in relation to what he said in the aftermath of Liverpool. He said, because I don't need to. I have the phone and I can speak to them. And they have been very, very supportive from the first day that I joined. They were very much participating in decisions to bring me back here. And the same with Vinay, Edu. There are no gaps or frictions here. We'll never know if that's fully true. He's never going to come out and tell us there's divisions. There probably is to a slight degree, because in life, you at work, in your group of people at work, do you see eye to eye on everything? Like, it's naive to believe Edu, Vinay and all of these guys are friends. They don't need to be friends. We're not here to make friends, we're here to win. And what that means is bringing Arsenal back to where they believe and having the ambition, like every other club, to be the envy of the world. That's what every 20 of them Premier League teams, all the fans want. It don't matter how unrealistic it is. We all, as fans, want to be the best, want the best players, want the envies, and that should be the ambition, to see what Liverpool is doing and try and be in there, to be in the mix. Obviously, reality is right now, that's long term. Right now, it's about getting top four, flushing out what we need to flush out. How much? I'm not naive, and I'm sure you lot are not either. We're not going to see. We could sit here and probably make an 11 of players at Arsenal that need to be moved on or not going to do better and help us progress. It's naive to think, you know, there's going to be so many wholesale changes, and that can be dangerous at a period. How dangerous can it be if we're really this rubbish? Will it make a difference? I guess that's something for me to consider. But who knows, people? So he's never really going to come out. And then when he was pressed on whether he was trying to send a message to the board, he said no. And if that was what was misinterpreted, that's a mistake. We work very closely with all the hierarchy at the club to put a plan together, and that we need to take this club forward. Everybody has the same ambition. We're all in this together. I hope so, man, because Arteta, as much as I love you, and, you know, there might be a time where I'm saying Arteta out, Arteta's not the guy, because, you know, football is, you know, you can't have things set in stone. If Arteta shows he's not the man in the future to take us forward, then I'll speak about it. But right now, I'm fully behind Arteta. He's shown me enough for me to believe in him. He's shown me that while I don't agree with everything, he's got enough tactical flexibility, he's got enough conviction in his ideas, his man management is on point, and he's shown me a blueprint somewhat to say, it says, what I sat here and said on the Emre, it's not as white and black to say Emre gets better players, he does better. There was too many grey areas. Now for me, I can see, it's still not a foregone conclusion, but I can see it, you lot can see evidently, Arteta is giving better players, We might not be top 4 standard just yet, but you'll see an improvement. And, you know, I keep saying it, Arteta is the least important guy off the field, really, because he's a head coach. By theory, like Emery, he's the most disposable. And it's things above him. It's down to Raul Sanllehi to ensure that this collective sort of ethos we're trying to do as a club is maintained. Vinay as well. Huss Farming, make sure the contracts are there. Learn from hindsight. You know, we've made a mess of the Ramses and the Alexis stuff, and you can even add a Aubameyang into that now because of its running down. Learn from hindsight and apply foresight. That's why I don't mind Mavropanos signing a new deal, because it protects his value. You know, I'm looking at it now. Beyond the obvious ones who needs a new deal, you know, Saka's got one and stuff. Eddie Nketiah, forgive me if I'm wrong, contracted until 2022, has gone from being this young player to now a sort of rotation option. He's elevated his squad status. Make sure that gets a new deal. Martinez, he's pushed himself into plans. He's got a contract until 2022. Are you going to sell it, or are you going to renew that contract? You get, and there's many other examples and things like that. Learn from hindsight and apply foresight. If they say they're not signing, cool, it might hurt fans. Sell that, bring people in. So I'm looking above him. And crucially for me, he said, we don't know where we are going to finish and how much impact financially that is going to have. We're going to have to sit down at the end of the season, see what we are able to do. But we have been working with the club to put different plans together. And then, you know, the bits that I wanted to make the video about people, of the aftermath of the Liverpool game, he said, for everyone it would be a massive blow. But a lot of things change, and a lot of things are changing, and a lot of clubs that were in the history always in the Champions League are now not. So we are not the only ones in that situation. And I do feel Champions League is important. It's the bread and butter of club competition. But I do think the pull of I won't say it's overstated, but I do think the pull of Champions League is overstated to signing players. I do think you can, like fair enough, it's not Alexis Sanchez, but we went and got Aubameyang, Lacazette, and Pepe was sought after allegedly by top clubs. We managed to do it without Champions League football, and there's been United have managed to do it without Champions League football, and there's been other examples of other clubs. And I feel if the Prem keeps going the way it is, with Wolves trying to create a dynasty, obviously Spurs want to be top 4, Arsenal want to be top 4, City, Chelsea, United, they all want to win league titles and be top 4. And, you know, there's 6 men fighting for 4 places. Soon it might be a top 10, it might be 10 teams fighting for 4. You know, it will become less and less the variable between a team coming to you, a player coming from one team to another sort of thing. But it would be a blow. It would, without a doubt, it would be a blow to not have any European football. And of course, to not be in the champs. He said, it's never in the history of the Premier League that you've had 7 teams at that level competing for those places. These records are there to break, so it's something that has happened. So obviously we need to know that there's a reason behind it. It's not just bad luck. It's one element or 2 elements. It's a lot of things that have changed in order to accomplish the level that we want for this club again. And he's also said recruitment becomes massive. If you want to catch that level, it's no secret. I don't know any team that has done it in a different way without big investment. And you look at Liverpool, the blueprint. You know, they had Klopp, he had conviction in his ideas and the process. He knew the system he wanted. He sought the players he wanted to find for his system, and he facilitated it so they could do their thing, sort of thing. And he was helped, he was backed up, you know. They look what they would see Liverpool be here without the Coutinho money, I don't know. But that was proper investment, you know. Then they went and got Alisson and Van Dijk, which obviously first they found the system, they reworked the system because Klopp realised we need to put more emphasis on shutting out games and improve game management. And you can see that for as much as you can praise Van Dijk and Alisson, they took it up a level. They collectively, the output of, and I'm sure Liverpool fans know, there's a change. You go back 2 years ago to now, they're still that heavy metal sort of Liverpool side, but they manage out games better. Maybe not so much recent, but they manage out games. So they've had a system, they've reworked the system, they've brought in players for the system, sort of thing. They've redistributed money, and then crucially, when everything's been in place, they've brought in a couple players to take it a next level, like you saw with Mignolet and who's the other one, man? Karius, you know, both of them chuckle brothers. I'm pretty sure, you know, we'd be sitting here, probably take a year to get through all the mistakes and all the dumb stuff both have done. You know, you got them doing it in Champions League finals. Best of a bad bunch. They said, you know what, we need a goalkeeper. Alisson. Now, it sounds silly defending him. We all know Alisson's a top keeper, but we remember what happened at the Emirates a few days ago. But he took it up a level. Van Dijk took it up a level. But they couldn't do it by themselves. They're in a system that understands we need to attack as well as we defend, and you know these lot are allowed to shine, make the difference. Van Dijk's clearly a good defender and takes it up a level. The same goes for Alisson. So, and I think the same the situations are different. I'm by no means comparing it. What I'm saying is, you know, it's not just about money. Arteta's shown that he can play 4 at the back, 3 at the back. He can tweak systems and have a fundamental way of playing. So now it's a case of marrying that with the players, you know, allow him to bend the team. Even me, I don't want Guendouzi to leave. I think Torreira's up for sale indirectly because I don't think he fits what my man wants to do. You know, I think he truly doesn't really believe in Lacazette, regardless of what he says in the public. I don't think he truly believes in Pepe. While you know, Pepe is an exception because similar to Chelsea and Kepa, you've got or Maguire at United, you kind of got to run with this now. But he should be allowed to bend the team to how he wants. Get the players out that he doesn't, bring the man in. Crucially, bring in players that are better. Bring in players like, for me, with all due respect to David Luiz, Suarez, Marie, these are not inspired signings. These are guys that can come in and do a job in the squad and put consistent runs together, but they're not taking it to another level. And sometimes when you pay, I'm not saying with anything, because definitely not in Marie's case, I'm using him to paint a point. You know, sometimes when you penny pinch and you don't buy quality, you have to buy twice, 3 times over. Like, I'm not saying Barca didn't buy quality because, you know, Ousmane Dembele's had injuries and he is a quality player. They've bought Griezmann as well. They've bought Coutinho. I'm not saying these players are not quality because it's a Barca example. But are any of them of the level to Neymar? Now, it's difficult to find that. And what I mean by that is they've tried to replace Neymar several times. Do you get it? Because they're not able to find that quality. They've paid 100 odd million for Dembele. They've put an outlay on Coutinho and was, you know, it wasn't maybe not directly in terms of position, but influencing the team. You know, they've gone for Griezmann, who's clearly not a tactical good player, clearly not a tactical fit for Barca. I think he can be a success there. Clearly not a tactical fit for them or the right one for them. You end up playing twice over, and you know you don't need to look any further than our centre half thing. Arsenal have mastered the art of buying a centre half and still screaming we need a centre half. And you know, I look at our centre half options. Like, to be fair, Marie might show that he's decent because I ain't seen too much of his. Luiz and Mustafi have had decent form, but I think if any Arsenal fan genuinely believes in any of these centre-halves, these abilities over a 38-game period, and you're not related to any of these players, I think you're lying. Like, I think you're lying. If you want, exclude Saliba because he's not involved, I think you're lying. If you wholeheartedly believe next season, 38 games, plus the Europa, if we're in it, plus any cup competitions, Luiz is going to give you a solid 7 out of 10, or they're going to perform well like he has in large parts this season, it's a myth because he'll show his level with these occasional mistakes. Would you bet your house on it? You wouldn't. The same goes for Mustafi, the same goes for Socrates, Holding. I've got a love for Chambers, but Chambers as well. There's no one you really believe in specifically at that heart of defence. You know, you look at our spine and our spine isn't there. Our midfield, if our midfield was better, if we had better ball carriers, better men that are good on the ball, there'd be less pressure on our defence. Because they're good at holding onto the ball and distributing it. And likewise, if they were defensive players in that regards, they're good at winning the ball back before their defence even has to move a muscle. Do you get it? So there's a lot of things we need to do better. And I have hope, man. I have hope. But how much hope can I have beyond believing in Arteta when I look at the dynamics? Like, that's why I try not to get too worked up about Arsenal as much as I love the club and, you know, it means something to me and all of these things. Because I look at it, in the grand scheme of things, me as a fan, what can I change? Because I alone can't get Kroenke out of the club. You alone can't get him. 100 of us don't mean nothing. We need the whole collective to do a thing. And for everyone that won't buy a ticket or won't do this and won't do that, there'll be 100 others. And to a degree, I'm a hypocrite because I'm still out here buying the shirts. I like the Arsenal shirts. You don't know, as fans, we're twanged. So we're just at Kroenke's mercy. And, you know, I think it's going to get worse because how can I see it not? I'm like, just because there's too many. I think what Arteta can control, he's doing a good job. He's only in charge of the tactics and stuff and working with what he's got. But beyond him, the dynamics don't give me any confidence. You know, Raul Sanllehi, you know, the jury's still out for him. I was fully behind it. Don Raul, the way he was talking about contracts. Again, we might find the details later. But from what I see as a fan, is he doing his job to the best of his abilities, or is he doing what we thought was happening? No. You know, truly, I don't know what Edu does, but is he doing it to the best? Is Vinay doing it to the best? Hosfami, ain't he the contract man? You know, between him and Raul, I'm looking at you and thinking, yo, you know, we finally got there over Saka, but fucking hell, it was close. Aubameyang, well gone. Do you get what I'm saying, people? We'll have to see, man, but we'll see, man. I've been here longer than I wanted to. I've ranted and raved. I think I've got it all out now, and like I said, we'll have to see, man. Fingers crossed for Arteta, but prepare for the best, expect the worst sort of thing is what I'm preaching. And I want to be wrong. I want to see, you know, I want to see her bring in a centre mid or two, a defender or two, maybe a super player or something that can come into it and decide games. I would love to see that, but seeing is believing sort of thing, people. And I don't see clearly what we're trying to do, because 1 minute we're doing youngster thing, 1 minute we're trying to go after these quality players, 1 minute we're going after players, you know, that I've got a year or two left in the game. I'm not too sure what we're on, people. So we'll have to see. Away from that, though, Saliba, Arsenal and Saint Etienne have failed to come to an agreement for Saliba to play in the cup final, which is a bit of pill to swallow for Saliba. It would have been the first in his career, and I think it's sad for him. I've spoken about my opinions on that situation at length, so I'm sure you've seen that already. Martinelli will play no part of 2020 the whole year, so the start of next year. Which is sad because, as you know, the 19-year-old, he's come here unknown, played very well, got 10 goals in 26 appearances, signed a new deal, and hopefully that keeps his spirits up, that new deal, knowing that, the club believe in me, the fans believe in me, knowing that I've got the ability, sort of thing. So he's had a successful operation on his knee. I think it's around his cartilage or something, and it's best that he does this. If surgery was the only option, it's best that he does that, because in the grand scheme of things, he's 19. You're hoping to get 3, 4, 5 years out of him before the big boys come for him. So what is a couple of months? And to be fair, it's good that if this was a niggling knock, or if this was something that he could play on with this season, but he might have to get a surgery thing, it's good that we knocked this one on the head. It was sustained with training. It's a bitter pill to swallow because, as you lot know, Martinelli for me is a genuine option on the left wing or up front. I think he needs to learn how to play on the right just for his own intelligence and to be effective, because I think he's a good player. You look at Cristiano Ronaldo, at a point he was doing that right wing, left wing and up front, and even obviously now he's changed his game, but he can play everywhere. You look at, and I'm not saying he's Ronaldo's and Messi, Martinelli's that, but you get the point. You look at Messi, the same. Messi can play everywhere. Of course, I'm being a bit harsh, but obviously have one way, that's your position, but you can be doing everything else. And for me, I think Martinelli is someone that was going to be central to my plans if I was Arteta this year. Don't know why I didn't play as much, and definitely next year and years to come. So all I can say is, rest up well. Hopefully there's no setbacks and it's a smooth recovery, because we'll be waiting for our Brazilian, man. We've been waiting time for an exciting Brazilian player, and we finally got one in the 19-year-old, man. So yeah, man, we're missing you. We've got some good young players here. Some are going to be quality players, some are going to be squad players. Ultimately, some are not going to be good enough. But, if some can make profits for us, some can go off to be first teamers, it's great for us, people. Like I said, man, I've gone off topic now and I'm rambling a bit too much now. I hope I've given you something to take away from this. On that note, though, DG, I'm out.